Have you ever heard the phrase, "Debt is the root of all evil"? Never get into debt. Debt is slavery. And that is true to a certain extent, because when you're drowning in debt, your life is over. While you're trying to pay your debt are not waiting for you. They're growing day by day. No one lends money for free. There's always an interest. Despite all of this, the United States has embraced debt. The consumer debt is almost $15 trillion, which brings the average household debt to over $5,300. The US GDP is a little over $21 trillion, which means the entire economy consists of debt. But I have some good news for you. Debt isn't always bad. That is an unpopular opinion, because most of the debt we have is bad debt. You probably have some credit card debt, a car loan, and maybe a student debt, and you are thinking, it will take me decades to pay off all these debts. How on earth can debt be something good? In order to understand how debt can be something positive, let's take a look at how people with deep pockets still use debt to make even more money. It might sound a bit confusing, because why would anyone with a lot of money use debts in the first place? Debt is supposed to be used by people who do not have money. But that's not how capitalism works. Debt is a powerful tool if you know how to use it. And in this video, we will find out how rich people use debt to make even more money. So, give this video a thumbs up and let's get right into it. Number 1. Credit score. As you can see, debt is a powerful tool. Every successful business company or entrepreneur uses debt in various ways, especially if you have a proven business model. Borrowing money to finance purchase orders is practiced pretty much by every business. So stop thinking in terms that debt is bad. Of course, debt with a high interest rate, such as credit card debt, is horrible. But in order to get a lower interest rate, you have to minimize the risk of loaning your money. How do you do that? You build a track record of being a reliable borrower. There are billions, if not trillions of dollars in the banks waiting for someone to borrow them. And even if there isn't any money, banks can create money out of thin air. Number 2. Most of the trade is based on debt. It might sound a bit controversial, because borrowing money to start a business is a horrible idea. And personally, I would never do that. But there are businesses, especially traditional businesses, where using debt is your best option. Let's say you want to sell pens. It's a very common product, and there's pretty much always a demand for it. Ideally, you would fly to China, find a factory that produces that kind of pen with good quality and the right price. You would purchase a container of pens, ship them to the US, and distribute them to your clients. But today, that's mostly done online through websites like Alibaba, unless it's a more complicated product where you have to fly to that factory. But here's the catch. You don't really have to pay for the products to have the product first. Let me explain how. In the past 50 years, China has become the factory of the world, producing literally everything. Thousands of factories work non-stop to produce everything that the world needs, and in order to make it easier to sell. Most of these products would gladly loan you their products, in return that you would pay them sometime in the future. They will not lend it to strangers. So you will have to build some kind of trust with them first. But that's how business has been done for the past 50 years. Once the client would sell the product in the US or any part of the world, he would pay the factory and borrow more products. You are basically telling the factory, you know how to produce it, so let me help you sell it. If I can sell it for anything above the price, then that's going to be my profit. What makes this strategy great is that you are not tying up your own money in this transaction. That is why selling is one of the greatest skills you can ever master. Number 3. Hedge funds. Hedge funds are made by the rich, for the rich, to make the rich people richer, and they usually use unpopular strategies. Mortal people like you and me, we make our best efforts to predict which companies are going to grow, rise in value, and invest the money we work so hard to return in hopes for these companies to grow. But hedge funds often use a completely opposite strategy. They try to make money when companies fall or go bankrupt. As it was with the case of GameStop, although in that case, the internet challenged hedge funds and pushed them to lose over $13 billion. But how do hedge funds make money out of that? Let's say you expect a certain stock to decline, like Facebook, because you know that Apple, who produces the most popular smartphone, will announce next week that they will no longer let apps to track you, like Facebook or Instagram, track your online activity and make privacy their first priority, which will greatly damage Facebook's business model. So you pick up your phone and call your broker to borrow from him a single Facebook stock that costs, let's say, $100 and instantly sell it in an open market for $100. Congrats! Now you have $100 in your pocket. But you still owe your broker one Facebook stock. Let's say you are right. And next week, Facebook stock price drops to $70. You use that $100 to buy one Facebook stock for $70 since the price dropped and return it to your broker and pocket the difference. Congrats! You've made $30 out of full of stock. It sounds simple in theory, but it's extremely difficult and risky. In practice, what happens if you are wrong? What if the price doubles overnight? We still have to return that single Facebook stock to your broker and pay interest for borrowing that stock. Now you have to buy that stock back for $200 to return it to your broker. When you buy a stock and try to sell it when it rises, the maximum that you can lose is the amount you invested in. But not in the case of shorting. If the price keeps rising, your losses keeps rising. Theoretically, you can make unlimited losses since the stock price can rise indefinitely. But if you have 100 analysts working for you, you can make a fortune using this strategy. Number 4. Refinancing. Real estate debt is the best kind of debt because it's filled with loopholes. If you don't have a mortgage, then you are paying extra taxes. Rich people always have multiple mortgages to be able to get all of those deductions. Remember, every dollar that you are supposed to pay in taxes, but instead, you save an extra dollar earned. So that's another way rich people get richer. But let me give you a more practical way. This is how basically rich people get rich in real estate. Let's say you save $200,000. That's a lot of money, but if we're going to be honest, that's peanuts. You can even buy a house. Of course, you can't get a mortgage up to $800,000 since you have to make a 20% down payment. But here's the secret. Let's say you find a property that costs $500,000. It is in a bad condition and needs some or maybe a lot of renovation. You head to a bank and get a mortgage by making a 20% down payment. Let's say you're going to spend around 10% of the total cost of the house to renovate it, or around $50,000. You head to your bank again, but this time to refinance your mortgage. When you get your first mortgage, the value of that property was just $500,000 because it was such in a bad condition that no one wanted to live there. But since you have renovated it, there are people who want to rent it out. So the market value of that property, let's say, rises to $700,000. Like the first time, let's say you are going to get an 80% mortgage. But the 80% of $700,000 is $560,000. $400,000 out of that money is going to your first bank that gave you the first mortgage. And let's deduct another $50,000 that you spent on renovation. And you're going to be left with an extra profit of $110,000. You made $110 using that, and you're left with a property that you can rent it out to build equity and generate passive income. On top of that, you're going to avoid paying taxes because you have a mortgage. This is a very common practice among real estate investors. Can you really see after this that debt is bad? I will leave that for you to answer in the comment section below. Anyways, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Thanks for watching. and I will see you in the next one.